2 years ago, I started a site. By the way, I have absolutely no aerospace experience whatsoever. None. I started a site because I didn't like what I was hearing from messaging. I'm hearing negative. I'm hearing this sucks, it's never gonna happen. Started a site, didn't know anything about publishing, I didn't really write. I didn't know a thing about podcasting, and we just did podcast number 74. And I didn't let it be an excuse. The fact that I didn't know how, I didn't know where the money was gonna come from, that wasn't an excuse. So you lead by example. So whatever your problem is, whatever your vision for the future is, it's not big enough, I can tell you that right now. Unless you're, maybe if you're Rick Tomlinson, then it's, I don't know, I don't even, like, my head's gonna explode sometimes when I talk that way, right? But it's not big enough. So the way you inspire kids in space is to think bigger than you're thinking and to stop complaining. The worst thing that you could do is spend the next 30 years not getting anywhere. This is where we started in my lifetime, and I swear you could take the exact same headline and put it in 2011. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. So you got to look at your problems in a different way. That's it. Questions? I think that's it. Questions? Nothing? Just poured my heart out. You guys all ready to go? Go ahead.
What's your website link?
Oh, evadot.com. You should go there. If we had stuff to buy, I would tell you to buy it. We don't. Nobody? Yeah.
General observation, when you go out and talk to kids about your stuff, you try to get them excited about space.
Yeah.
Do you ever see any kid be negative about what you're telling them?
Sure.
But maybe when you talk to them in a different light about it and make them see from a different perspective, they usually all walk away with at least something to be enthusiastic about from what you say.
Yeah.
And I mean, all my experience talking to the groups of kids about space and everything else, there's always like one or two that fall asleep or whatever else. But you know, there isn't anything that keeps them from at least knowing that it's supposed to be exciting. But, I don't know, you and I are like around the same age. I mean, I was a kid, I was talking space stuff and nobody understood me, you know. They all pretty much made fun of me because of it, but.
When I talk about it now, adults are cynical about it and kids are enthusiastic, right? And I honestly think it's the generation that I'm in that needs to change their attitude, right? I mean, at this point, we're the voters, right? I mean, we're the ones that influence. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I was surprised how much I could relate to your story because I'm a college professor thinking about the attitude of my colleagues versus that of the undergraduates. It's the same story.
So
I offer a project. We're going to give you 3 courses worth of credit. We're going to figure out how to do a lunar base. 40 of them want to work. I can't get 2 more advisors to help me so that I can work with more than 6.
So what do you think you do about it? The hard part about my talk is that I leave it a little bit open-ended. There isn't an answer. It's about vision. It's about executing what you want. I can't give you an answer. I can't give you it on a slide. I can't do it. I can inspire you to do it. I can tell you what my kids want. I can tell you what other kids want. There's some younger people in the audience. You should ask them, right? What do you guys think? I'm gonna put you on the spot now. Nothing?
I'll tell you what we actually did. We took our 6 college students and we put on an event for 300 5th graders on campus.
And screaming 5th graders is motivating to me, I'll tell you what.
The teachers are saying, I didn't know there was such educational potential in the moon. Gee, biosphere in an alien environment, what part of science can't I teach? So, maybe.
I'm rather where you are, only it's kind of like split between you two because I've been asked by my Space Society chapter to design a contest to grant only one winner, because that's all the money we have for, one winner to Space Camp. And my chapter president wants that lucky winner to design either a moon outpost or a moon base. I'm leaving it open-ended. But here I am going, yeah, that's me. All I see are obstacles. Man, that's me. I don't know how to do any of those podcasts either, you know? So I'm
I can tell you,
here in
here's how a
between.
podcast works, right? You get a guest, and you talk, and you record it, and then you publish it. That's it. Big secret, right? I say I'm a podcaster. That's it. It helps if you can speak English. Unless you're doing a podcast in Germany, and then it's probably German, right? But I mean, a lot of those things that we feel, I think that they're maybe not as difficult as they sound like they are, right? Like something like podcasting. I had no, in fact, when I started podcasting about 2 years ago, my family had to leave the house because I was so self-conscious. Am I way over time? Oh, I was so self-conscious about it. They had to leave the house. And then when you get to, I don't know, episode 70.
Another question for you.
Yeah.
Why are you upset about leaving it open-ended? Life is an open-ended question, and it's
Yes.
one of the problems I meet with my students. They don't want an open-ended question.
I don't know if it's necessarily that I have a problem with it. I definitely agree with you that it's not my question to answer for you. I know what it is for me right now. And hopefully that leads me to action that it's not Farmville. Yes.
I'm curious as to whether you agree with me that we're getting close to another tipping
Absolutely.
where the general public is going to become enthralled with space again, and that tipping point will happen when a lot of regular people go up into some orbit into space. And
In fact, that's
it'll dawn on people, hey, I can do that.
right.
And when that happens,
I think with Zac Efron goes, I'm just using it as a watermark, right? I just say it as a watermark. In fact, I wrote a piece this week on watermark. I think that space tourism is a great indicator of something new. I'm very bearish. I see the big change in the space industry, despite the fact that some of you lost your jobs, and that sucks, right? But it is more opportunity than it is pain. So, right? So it's short. I think the pain is short term, and I do think we have to go through it, right? We've been stagnant. I feel like we've been stagnant for a long time, and it's not that what we're doing with the current space program isn't amazing. But something needs to be different for us to go somewhere bigger. So yeah, I'm definitely very bearish. Yes, ma'am.
Don't you think that the theoretical foundation is the first step to being inspired to do something in this field at least?
But I'm not sure I know what you mean by theoretical foundation. So can you give me an example?
As in, how are students, for example, supposed to design a space station without knowing how to produce gravity? So do you think that this inspiration thing, do you think it's a problem of the interior of one person or about the exterior? Where does it come from?
Do you think you can build a space station?
I think I can design it, but I couldn't build it single-handedly.
Do you think you could launch one that you designed today?
I hope so.
Because I think if something doesn't, if with some of the changes that we're seeing that are positive, and I hate to gush all over SpaceX, but when you get somebody like a founder of PayPal that looks at an industry and says, I want to take something that used to cost $600 million and make it 50, two things happen. Everybody that has done it at 500 million or 600 million before thinks you're nuts, which maybe you are a little bit. But what happens when things become $50 million instead of $500 million? Then you could raise the money. If you could come up with a good story, you could get Coca-Cola to give you $50 million. They've got $50 million. I know this because Microsoft just bought Skype for $8 billion. So $50 million is not really a lot of money, right? What if Microsoft had a stake in it, and they said, we want to do a space mission, and I was just thinking about this the other day. In fact, I bought a domain, backupofearth.com. Why wouldn't like an EMC or a Microsoft bury a storage array on the moon? Why not? If you could do it for $100 million, right? Because the hardware, if the launch vehicle only costs 50, the hardware only costs 100. Well, that's not really a lot of money to a company like Microsoft, is it? And now you've got, I mean, imagine that. Like you go to your bank, and now instead of saying we've got secure, you can get mobile on your phone, we can back up your financial records to Jupyter. Which is okay. Maybe Jupyter's not a great example, but one more question, and then I'm cut off.
Well, mine is not a question, it's just a comment about the great work that Michael's doing. I consider him a true visionary, what he's doing really with Evidot and Space Up and things he's doing. He did an interview with me recently, and right after it was published, the revolutions of the Middle East broke out. This is following the Green Revolution. So, it seems like people died on the streets, but really people's minds get open. And when he said that he leaves the question open-ended, that's really opening people's minds and leaving it up to them to figure things out. So, congratulations.
Thank you. If anyone wants to take a look at this, it's really cool. Especially for anybody who's younger than me that has never seen a cigarette ad in a magazine before.